back to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Kalvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group. Again, thanks for listening. Every week we talk about retirement, all these exciting topics. Well, maybe not that exciting, but we want to have as much fun with them as possible. Yet we know they're serious. And, the old saying, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. None of us want to. But if you're listening, and kind of a segue from the last segment, if you're listening and kind of stuck in your ways, and if my wife would be on with me right now, she goes, I get stuck in my ways and I don't like change very well. Okay, yeah, that's probably true. But if you're stuck in your ways and you're doing exactly the same thing you've always been doing, one thing that has changed is we've all gotten that much older. And if you're doing the same types of investments and the same type of thing, and you're now close to retirement, are you sure those are the right decisions? So feel free to give us a call, 612-504-8400 or havenfinancialgroup.com.
So, Larry, in this segment, we're going to talk about how important it is to sort of accurately predict what you're going to need in retirement. And in order to do so, again, I really feel strongly about the idea that you have to sit down with a partner because you've never retired before. And I think there's a lot of things that maybe some of us don't think about. Throughout many people's lives, their working lives, their health care has come through their employer in some kind of plan that maybe was not as expensive as it might be if you are self-employed, or when you get into retirement and you need to take care of your healthcare costs. It feels like to me that's one of the places where people underestimate, and that is someplace that can really catch up with you.
You are correct. Healthcare costs are very underestimated. When we build out plans, people aren't looking at $1,000 to $1,200 a month. Or something of that nature. And again, it's not exactly that, but it's a big number. Mm-hmm. So when we build out retirement plans, we're going to factor that into the equation for sure. And that's just something you need to look at. But people, they kind of stop right there, and they don't think about long-term care. Mm. And if anybody's listening and they're dealing with a loved one, a mom or dad, a grandpa or grandma that's in a nursing home, the nursing home can decimate anything you've earned over your lifetime very, very quickly at $10,000 to $15,000 a month. Right. So if you haven't looked at that, there's much more viable options out there than there used to be. Come in and visit with Glenn on asset-based long-term care, hybrid long-term care, annuities that can be used for long-term care. That is certainly one. And when you mentioned it, the major component to retirement is, what are my expenses going to be? Right. What are some strategies? A budget. None of us like to do a budget, but we want to make sure that, we're not spending unnecessarily on certain things. And we might not even notice it, but if you put pen to paper, well, maybe going to Caribou or Starbucks 10 times a week, maybe that could be reduced to 5. Not because we're trying to cut back, but we want to see where we're spending the money. So again, a budget. When we factor out retirement plans, we're going to have that adjusted for inflation, because inflation, it's a game changer. And we know that in recent years, the purchasing power of the dollar isn't as strong. We factor that into the equation. Mm-hmm. So we want to look at all these costs that potentially can be associated with retirement. And guess what? These things can change.
Sure.
Life doesn't always cooperate with our calendar, does it?
No, it certainly does not.
It doesn't. So there's going to have to be some modifications and changes to this strategy, certainly over time, because we don't know what the future necessarily has in store for us.
Absolutely. So it's so important that when putting together any kind of plan, you keep in mind that life happens. And that means there's going to be emergencies along the way. There's going to be, I think you've said it many times, all of a sudden the roof is leaking or the refrigerator goes out. There are going to be, there's going to be family crisis. There's somebody in the family who maybe needs your help, or, the list goes on and on. These are the kinds of things, no doubt, you guys help people, plan for, if you can plan for it.
You can. And that's why the bucket strategy, good liquidity, you want to have all options on the table. So when these surprises, whether good or bad surprises happen, that you're prepared for this to the best of your ability. If you don't have anything liquid to access, and all of a sudden you're forced to find the money, you might have to be taking it out of the wrong accounts at the wrong time, and then throw in maybe the stock market's down if you're in the market. You don't give yourself the options. And in retirement, you want the options. And remember, Medicare doesn't cover all healthcare expenses. So there's going to be some gaps. So it's why annual enrollment is a supplement plan better than the Advantage plan. That's not my wheelhouse, but Glenn and Isabel in the office, it is their wheelhouse. So you don't have to go it alone. You don't pay any more to have a non-biased broker work for you. So I certainly would encourage that, because a lot of people are spending way more on healthcare than they need to be. But if you don't shop it out every year, you're not even going to be aware of it. So awareness and understanding is very, very critical as you're trying to identify the costs, surprise costs. We're going to factor. We actually, when we build out a plan on a monthly basis or even an annual, we'll have an anything else bucket. And we're going to put it, and again, an anything else is part of the overall strategy, just because there's always something that comes up. Maybe it's a different car or whatever it might be. So again, it starts with the conversation, but if you're not having the conversations, how are you going to even know?
You know, Larry, we just talked about emergencies, and we certainly can't predict those. But another thing that we talk about pretty frequently here on the show, and certainly people who have been in retirement now or have been preparing for retirement understand this: inflation. Inflation is going to happen, and your plan has to include some kind of modification for inflation.
It has to. And I've seen over the years some financial advisors that don't factor in inflation, which to me makes zero sense. We're going to have factored in, adjusted for inflation for sure. One other thing I want to mention too is when we're talking healthcare, if you're able to contribute to an HSA, health savings account, please make sure you're doing that. Max that thing out. And years down the road, you're going to be very happy that you do. We like Roths, but we're big advocates of HSAs, probably even more than Roths, because it's tax-free going in, tax-free going out. It can be used for future medical expenses, your Medicare premiums. Again, max out that HSA. Just like that, we'd like to see you max out any contributions to anything that has tax benefits. So again, have a plan. Do you have all the puzzle pieces? From the estate planning, which I mentioned were well attended this past week. My goodness, we had a waiting list at both the nights. So estate planning, long-term care, Medicare, investments. Do you have too much risk in your portfolio? Do you even know? A lot of people don't even know. Are you paying too much? Do you have a partner that's actually listening? And again, we hear it so often. Wow, you guys actually pay attention. You actually take notes, and you actually are listening. That I just had a guy in this past week goes, I think when I talk to my financial guy, I don't think he's even listening, because he doesn't do anything that I ask him to do anyways, which to me is unfortunate. Right. And you don't have to deal with that. There's many options that are out there. And I would hope Haven Financial Group, you would entertain it. We have all the retirement puzzle pieces under the same roof. I mentioned that we just added on. We have an educational center now. I mentioned, I think last week, that we're doing a fraud prevention. The local police department will be in here in the middle of September. You can never have too much education, and that's where our passion lies.
Absolutely. And we also want to remind everyone that they can find out more about those educational seminars. All they have to do is go to havenfinancialgroup.com. Check out what's coming up this fall. I'm sure, Larry, the calendar is starting to get full as we look ahead now. People get back from vacation, and it's time to maybe get a little more serious in their lives. So again, the number is 612-504-8400. Go to havenfinancialgroup.com to look up some of those educational seminars. Maybe you're somebody who you have not shopped around when it comes to your medical expenses, and now you've just heard these dates, October 15th through December the 7th. That's open enrollment, and maybe you don't know anything about open enrollment, and you'd like to learn more about open enrollment. You can give the folks at Haven Financial Group a call. And one other thing, Larry, one of the things you always say is that not only should your partner if they're a partner, be listening to you, but they should reveal what the cost is to you as well. And you guys take care of that there at Haven as well.
There is never going to be a surprise invoice. The transparency should be expected in today's industry. I'm always appalled that when I ask what you're paying your guy or gal to manage your investments, 80% of the time almost, Larry, that's a really good question. We have no idea. Nothing's free. And what value are you getting? Ask yourself that. What value are you getting? Again, we'd love to have you come in. There's no cost. And what I also like is we have a very laid back approach here. We hear it frequently. Wow, there was no sales pitch with you guys. It was, here's the information, here's the education, here's our suggestions, here's our recommendations. It's up to you if you want to implement them or not. Mm-hmm. And if so, and you think we're a good partner to implement this stuff, we'll execute with you. We work for you, again, and you pay us, but you're going to know exactly what you're paying.
It's been a great show, Larry. Really informative. Thanks so much, Kim. Look forward to next week. Have a great week.